It's going to rotate around, huh?
Control deck, can you have Hercules turn on its lights, please? And also, Herc has passed the transom.
Roger.
Copy. Turning on lights. Herc is past the transom.
Okay. So just always keep my butt pointed. Okay.
Control deck, that is tether all out. Hercules is still pretty far off the port. When you're ready, to go ahead and center up.
Roger. Head port.
Copy that. Come in center.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, true. Yeah. Just okay. Yeah, looking good there. Okay. Laddering port. Just fly back and let it. Yeah, okay. I see. All right, I'm going to go auto head here. Does it?
Control deck. We still have Hercules a little bit over to port, just outside of the A-frame leg.
Okay, coming port.
Copy. Come in center.
Okay.
Control deck, that looks centered up. We're going to go ahead and start with Atalanta.
Roger, holding.
Copy that.
Wait, you just do stick lock or? Okay. Yeah. That's. Well, hold on, but I got you. Okay.
That wire up just a bit, please.
Wire up there. Oh, okay. Everybody's first time, huh? Yeah, yeah. I'm pushing out. gnarly.
Lynette, back deck, do me a favor, hit the reset button twice on the screen for the LC-90, please.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Reset button hit.
Alright, you're clear to go ahead and go down.
Roger, dive, dive, dive.
Hercules is dive, dive, dive.
Control back deck, that is Atalanta off the deck and heading down. Break, break. Lynette, please make speed 1-2 meters per minute, please.
Pressure is good.
Roger, 1-2 meters per minute.
Not a butt cam, so. Yes, please. Thank you.
This is an audio slate for dive Hotel 2091. UTC time is 102153.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Mark.
0 tether wraps. Okay. 0. Okay. But okay. The ship speed. Okay.
Control, back deck, that is all stop 50 meters. Sending control to the van.
Okay, I'll stop.
We all stop 50. Deck control, we have control.
Copies.
Thank you, Mike. So here you can pause and take a breath. Okay. Thank you guys. Huh? No worries. Hey, Ed,
Yeah, go ahead.
could we're a little dark. Is that us or?
Wait, turn some of your lights off, but hold on. Let me. Yep, that's as bright as.
That's
you
it,
got.
huh?
That's what you get.
Okay.
I think
Thank you.
if you want to turn on your front porch lights or your down
We have
lights.
all of our lights on except for the down lights.
Yeah, hit your downs. Check them out.
Say again.
Hit your down lights. Try them.
Okay.
There you go. If you want to see ROV, and then if you want, I can actually put ROV
Okay.
in focus.
You're really quiet in my ear.
Yep, I've heard that complaint. You're probably forced listening, a bunch of people, and hearing me on SPL.
Okay.
No,
Sorry. There we go.
hold on.
Coming down.
Let me check my own levels first. Check. Yeah, I am low. Check 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Test 1 2 1 2. Check 1 2 1 2 1 2. Check. Nothing. He's not hearing me.
Yeah, much better.
Let me look at his key panel. We had this problem on shakedown. Pilot, cross point gains. So is listening to, oh, man, he's forced listening to everybody. Wow. I know why. He's probably got his trims up too. Cross point gains, non-unity only. Oh no, he's still got them all at 0. I'm on a party line, so he can't push me up. Let me try taking him off of the party line for video. Which I'm probably going to blow him out of his seat after I do this. Anything better now? Oh, he's talking to Dano. Hey Ben, can you hear me now?
Ed, yeah, I can hear you.
Any better?
It's much better. Thank you.
Louder?
That's great. No, you're good.
More loud, you said?
That's fine. You can be as loud as you want in my ear.
So downlight obviously just lights up your vehicle, and right now I've got the focus racked all the way in, so the craft is in focus. Normally it would be like that.
Okay.
And so if I pull it in, I could actually put the arm in focus.
Okay, so eventually I'll move that out, huh?
Yeah, I'll move the focus out when we, if
Okay.
we see anything.
Roger.
Yeah.
All right.
And Ben, at some point, let's come up when you and I are not, or when you're not on watch,
Uh-huh.
and have you sit some time at video, and I'll show you. Like I know you were looking at the Shinobi focus peaking monitor.
Yes.
Over here.
Yes.
And show you how that works.
All right, I'd love it.
Yeah.
To do what now? Am I not already talking? I think I'm already talking on it.
It's the line so that you're talking out.
Do you, So, okay. That's unfortunate for everybody. Okay. Okay. All right. How's my delta?
Oh, who was asking about hearing yourself? That's actually a setting that we can show you how to easily adjust, because some people, it drives them crazy if they can't hear themselves, and the other half of the world drives them crazy if they can hear themselves. So I can show you how to easily change that. Give me a second.
How you doing?
Doing great. You're doing awesome. It's amazing. I'm over here breaking into a cold sweat over nothing, and while you're trying to, you're managing the whole ROV.
I've about 10,000 hours on ROVs, so I've panicked all my panics. I shouldn't say that. That's terrible. That's a bad thing. I just
Knock on wood.
blew it. Yeah, yeah. Prayed to Poseidon. Everything's good.
Oh, look at you perfectionists. See, I leave the room and it works.
Yeah.
What do we get? Around about 5,000. I think that's when he's okay to back down, and then we'll try it. Oh, okay. All right.
Okay.
Right on. You do great.
All right. Welcome, everyone. We're here on the science party line, and we're going to do a little round robin to introduce ourselves, and then we'll talk a little bit about what we're doing here on this expedition. So I'm just going to pass here to my right. Can kick us off.
Hello world, my name is Verena Tunnicliffe. I'm on a watch lead here for tonight and our very first exciting dive to a site called Toto Caldera. And pass over to our Science One.
All right, I'm Jacob. I'm a graduate student, a PhD student at the University of Rhode Island, and I'm here on the Nautilus to kind of look at some, volcanoes, animals, and collect some samples for my research. I'll pass it on to Brianna.
Hi, my name is Brianna Jordan. I'm a PhD student at Harvard. Not only is this the first dive of the expedition, but it's my first dive altogether because I've never been on a cruise before. So I'm really excited, and hopefully I get to see some picnic-going and sea spiders because that's what I work on.
All right, we're going to go down to the bottom row. Can start on the far right. Go ahead, Anna.
Hey, I am Anna Coulson, and I am the navigator today on this watch.
Hey everybody, this is Lynette. I'm also a navigator.
Hey, this is Ed at video. I'm going to jump in and say hello while our pilots are troubleshooting some issues.
Thanks, Ed. Sean, you want to go next?
Yeah, I'm Sean McDuff with Mariana Trench Marine National Monument, resource monitor and backup science assistant on dive. First dive, excited to be here.
All right, well, we'll hear from our pilots soon, but in the meantime, we'll just introduce. Are you ready, pilots? Go for it, yep.
Sure. Hi, my name's Ben Irwin, and I'm an ROV pilot and currently flying Hercules. Okay.
And I'm Mackenzie. I'm the Atalanta pilot. Yeah, excited to be here.
Okay.
All right, so we are here on our first dive of expedition. This is 171, and we are diving towards the Toto caldera. And so I'm going to allow our watch lead and lead scientist here to introduce a little bit about this dive and tell us about some of the science that we are looking to find more about.
Okay, great. Thanks, Kyle. We are at 540 meters, and we're headed down to about 3,000 meters. We are headed to a site that had been discovered, 25 years ago now, and it was discovered by Japanese colleagues from Jamstec. They found a site of hydrothermal venting inside the crater, inside the caldera of a fairly large volcano. Toto volcano is located right at the southern terminus of the Mariana volcanic arc. So a whole chain of volcanoes that extend all the way up the arc, all the way up through U.S. waters, then up into Japanese waters. So Toto is known to be hydrothermally active. It's not magmatically active in terms of recent eruption, but they first found the hydrothermal vents here and dove on them 20 years ago, and then let's see, that would have been in the year 2000 and in the year 2003. But nobody has visited them since. And so we're not positive they're going to still be active. Our hope is that we will find them still active. There were animals that were reported here. The highest water temperatures here were 170 degrees centigrade. They're very acidic waters, which is characteristic of venting on the arc volcanoes, very different from the venting that is in the back arc. The other feature here is that as a result of this very different geochemistry in the water that makes them so acidic, they also are replete with sulfur, and that the chimneys that we hope we'll find are going to be white, not the black chimneys, black smokers. They would be what people call white smokers sometimes. And these are filled with sulfur, the element itself, so native sulfur. We're going to go down to traverse the area that was originally found. It's an area along a ridge that's about 250 meters long, so we'll poke around to see, okay, are they still active? Let's assume right now they're still active. That means we're going to try some sampling. We've got some water bottles called major samplers on board to try and take the fluid samples. We're going to try and take some samples of, oh, look at that siphonophore on the screen. Woohoo, that's got one very long tail. What a beaut. The most wonderful part of these dives sometimes is actually what's in the water column as you're going down and coming up. Okay, so we're going to sample the water. We're going to try and sample the chimneys themselves, which may be very difficult because they tend to fall apart. And then we'll see what we've got in the way of animals. Tube worms are reported from this site, so maybe we'll get some of those. There's clams reported. We'll just see what's there and map out the extent of the hydrothermalism that we can find. That should do us for now, Kyle.
Thank you so much. That's an awesome introduction. Yeah, and I love that we have things coming up in the water column here too. So we'll keep our eyes peeled for anything that we can spot and get some insight on. And I realized I didn't also introduce myself, so I did miss that. But my name is Kyle Mentor, and I am the Science Communication Fellow on this watch. And I'm excited to be here in the Marianas Islands and also to be surveying as part of the Mariana Trench Marine National Monument, which is part of the Mariana Arc of Fire National Wildlife Refuge. So we are very lucky to be in this part of the world and to get to survey this really incredible landscape. So to that effect, I also wanted to just highlight in the chat that someone was asking about some naming guidelines and thinking about the indigenous languages of the region. So both Chamorro and also in Refalawash. So I was hoping that, Sean, I could maybe pull you in to speak a little bit about our expedition and the name that we have chosen to give for this expedition.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. So we have this expedition and one next month. For this expedition, we're naming it Matingan. So that's a Chamorro word for open ocean, deep ocean, beyond the reef. So somewhere not shallow. So that's for NA171, and for NA172, we're naming it Metal, which is the Refalawash word for about the same thing, open ocean, deep ocean. So we're happy that we're able to, assign some of the indigenous local names to these expeditions. If you want further, Kyle, I can talk about how the Monument Office works with researchers like the Nautilus and others in naming newly discovered features in the Chamorro or Refalawash language.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So it is part of our management plan. We have a way of working with scientists. We have a cultural naming group that we can work with in coming up with ways to assign local names to features. Most recently, I think it was a couple years ago, another expedition here discovered some mud volcanoes along the forearc, and that through working with the culture naming group, they decided to have sort of like a contest with the high school students there in the Marianas, in the Northern Marianas. And so the 3 features were named by high school students. So they were able to join and participate, submit local names with some descriptions. And through the cultural working group, there were some mud volcanoes that were named with local names. Hagai Tasi is one, which means blood of the ocean. That one is actually located within the Mariana Trench National Wildlife Refuge. Another one is Subedbia, and then one in Refalawash is La Yur Arau, which means blue water spout. I might have got that wrong, so, but we were very interested in getting local names and working with our cultural working group.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. Yeah, it's really good context for us to have as we begin this expedition. And like Sean mentioned, this is just the first of 2 here in the Northern Mariana Islands. And, you know, we have partners in Guam and in the CNMI that we're going to be working closely with. So really excited for all those partnerships. I'd love to also invite Jacob, if you'd like to talk a little bit about some of the geological background for these dives and what's on your mind as we sort of jump into this first expedition.
Yeah, so I think Brenna covered a lot of it pretty well. And, you know, I think for the geologic background in this particular region, so Toto, Caldera, I don't know a whole lot about it. Here. Other than the fact that there's hydrothermal vents there, that they're classified as white smokers, and that they have pretty high aluminum content due to what they thought was like acidic leaching of hydrothermal fluids, of rocks by hydrothermal fluids, before they're kind of expelled through these vent systems. But, you know, we're also going to be looking for, because a lot of studies in the region have really focused on sort of understanding the distribution of hydrothermal vents along the Mariana Arc, the trough, and the remnant arc, which is to the west of where we are now. And so I think this expedition is going to be interesting because we're going to be able to go down and actually see these locations instead of just kind of mapping the water column for hydrothermal plumes. And we're actually going to be able to see the eruptions with the ROV and sample them and get, you know, more possibly unaltered, fresh, you know, rock samples from these volcanoes. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, thanks, Jacob. There was also a question too, as we sort of think about the caldera as a ecosystem and what kind of marine life lives in that area. If anyone feels like they have an idea, I know there are, you know, there's some previous data from the dive in 2003, right? So that's been quite a while. So we're also going back to some sites that we've already visited. So Brianna, is there any marine life that you're thinking about as we kind of hit this first seamount environment?
I mean, I'm looking forward to some pycnogonids, sea spiders, or what I am focusing on for my dissertation. I think some other things we'll see is probably some corals, probably run into those. That's a lot where sea spiders can be associated with as well, or just on the ocean floor too.
All right, so checking in on our depth. Looks like we're right around 830 meters. You can see we have Hercules and Atalanta views there, a lot of blue water. Please do send in chat questions if you're curious about our expedition or about anybody in the control van here. We want to help you get to know us too. To that effect, I might ask people to share a little bit about how they got into this work. We can start with our science team. Verena, do you want to give us a little insight into what your first toe tapping into the water of deep exploration was? How did you get here? What's your journey to Nautilus?
Let's see. How does one make a long story short? I guess we've got all night, haven't we? I have been doing deep sea science for an embarrassingly long time. Let's see, that my first dive into the deep ocean was on April 21st, 1980. Remember it very, very well, but it's a long time ago. I was a postdoc at a government laboratory in Canada, and I was supposed to be working on some very shallow water worms. And I happened to walk down and onto the docks because I wanted to see what the, look at the ocean, look out at the ocean. And I happened to see inside the hangar a submersible that was all in pieces. This submersible was called Pisces 4. And I said to the engineers there, wow, if only I could go for a dive in that. And they said, well, do you want to come? So about 2 weeks later, they had the sub back together and they said nobody was using it. They were going to have to take it out and do a test dive with it in a fjord. So they took me out and that was my fate sealed as we dove down to 700 meters in the coast of British Columbia. And I just couldn't believe the world that was there. And so I've never looked back.
Fantastic. I can imagine 2 weeks later being 700 meters down might have been a bit of a shock to yourself, but I'm glad that it worked out. We're so glad that you're here with us too. This is it's pretty amazing. Jacob, you want to share a little bit about your entree into deep sea exploration and a little bit about your current interests?
Sure. So I got into kind of deep sea stuff when I was an undergrad, and I went out on a vessel for the first time, the Marcus G. Langseth, to do some geophysical work recovering OBSs. And during that cruise, we also did some mapping in the area of the Queen Charlotte Fault Zone, which is right offshore British Columbia. And so we mapped the water column and the seafloor there. And what we found when we got back, and I was processing the water column data over a bunch of seep sites, and it just really, caught my interest and kind of got me more into, ocean exploration, because you never really know what's there. And then my current interests are in volcanology, which isn't too far flung from what I was doing previously. And, just a lot of geochemistry and mapping, which have both been a lot of fun.
Yes, cannot forget about the mapping, such a crucial part of the work we do. And I know we have some data loggers here taking some excellent data from EV Nautilus. So also sharing that on our website, and that is all public data available to you. And we want you to come along in this journey. So we are diving down to, correct me if I'm wrong, 3,000 meters. There was a question in the chat. Yeah. And so about a third of the way there, you might say. So we'll slide over to Brianna. Brianna, can you tell us a little bit about your first time getting interested in deep sea?
I have a little bit more of a unconventional little plan to this type of work. I was started off into like behavioral ecology with spiders, and I did some work in a lab in my undergrad, and then focused my master's on that. And then as we moved into my PhD, I was interested by all types of inverts that I saw in the museum, and that's kind of where I stumbled upon sea spiders, which look a lot like spiders but are not related whatsoever. But if you ask any of my friends who are marine biologists, they would say that they turned me to become a marine biologist.
I'm hoping we see some sea spiders for you, Brianna. I'm feeling good. I'm confident. So can we jump down to our front row? We're going to have some friends share about their route here to Nautilus and a little bit about how you got into this work and deep sea exploration, what that means to you now. Anna, you want to start?
Yeah, hi. I also had a very unconventional way to get here. I actually studied ocean science in Britain when I was when I was younger, and I then bought a sailboat when I was 22 and sailed that for the next 15 years or so. I sailed from England to Indonesia, and I went over like a lot of uncharted reefs. And so then I got really interested in charting, and then I did a hydrography postgrad at the University of New Hampshire when I was in my 30s, and yeah, I went on from there to work on research ships. I normally do contract work on government vessels, and this is my first trip on the Nautilus. I'm pretty excited to be here. I'm starting as a navigator and a mapper when the ROVs aren't in the water. So yeah, it's a new ship and a new job for me. It's going great so far.
Yeah, so glad that you're here to join us too. We have so many people whose first voyage is happening, so this is very exciting. We're so happy to have such an awesome team. All right, I'll let you friends keep passing on to do some intros about your deep sea entrees. Would any of our pilots like to introduce a little bit about your route to Nautilus and about your experience in this field, deep sea? Mackenzie, are you interested? Do you have a moment? It's okay if not to.
Yeah, we're just working on kind of getting me a little bit of experience in the Hercules piloting role, so that's very exciting. What was the question?
We're just doing a little expanding on our route and thinking about our introduction to deep sea and how we kind of got into this work and what inspired us to explore.
Yeah, I actually had a little bit of a strange route to deep sea. I started out interested in, extraterrestrial exploration, space exploration, but, by joining my university's design team and just kind of taking some classes and figuring out what I was interested in, and came to realize that, there's a whole strange frontier right in our backyard. So yeah, kind of pivoted and got really into deep sea and never looked back.
Thanks, Mackenzie. Ed, are you on SPL and have you had a chance?
Here.
Did you introduce yourself also?
Maybe.
Maybe.
I'm edit video. A lot going on the first dive, so
yeah,
always tricky to nail down what's happened, what's still to happen. And you were going around background to get here?
Yeah, a little bit of background on how you got here.
Sure. So, like many people, strange and sordid tale. My background's in film and television production and video engineering, and a colleague of mine and I worked on a project in 2005 to broadcast HD video from axial seamount using the ROV Jason for the University of Washington. And my friend and colleague, who just left, as a matter of fact, went to sea. I did the shore support portion of that. Then in 2010, we swapped roles, and I went out with PIs John Delaney and Deb Kelly from University of Washington, and just loved it. And at the end of the mission, headed back into port, John asked me if this work suited me. And my answer was a very definite yes, and 65 expeditions later, I find myself here with many, many former shipmates. It's super fun, and new ones too, which is the best part. And I love that this work is super challenging. It's different every single day, and it's so very rewarding in getting to work with early career professionals and be a positive influence on their career.
Thanks, Ed. Yeah, we are in good hands. So Ed and your video team are doing fantastic work, and we're so glad that we get to share it with the world through this telepresence communication, and just thrilled to be part of it. So Sean, would you you want to jump in too? Because I know we have some unconventional routes we've heard about, and also, you know, you are joining in a role that's pretty unique to this voyage too. And so, you want to tell us a little bit about your route to Nautilus and to sea and deep sea?
Yes, the ship is moving back to the launch position.
Yeah, so my route growing up in Saipan was we weren't too far from the sea. You know, we were really close, but we're very far from the deep sea. I did study marine biology throughout school. Not, you know, studying shallow reef systems, how land impacts the coastal resources, um, reefs and fish, and what the community depend on. I took several jobs. The last one was in Washington State at the with the 1 second. That was with the EPA, and so I was working on Puget Sound recovery and restoration and resilience, which was really fun. It was a good job. I really enjoyed it. The only thing, it wasn't back home where, you know, where I grew up. So when this job for the superintendent for the Mariana Trench Marine National Monument through the Fish and Wildlife Service opened up, I applied for it and was able to come back home and start this role. We do have, I think, all habitats in the most, you know, shallow open water and deep habitats within the monument. So, you know, I knew I was going to get involved in the deep sea at some point, just because we have the Mariana Trench National Wildlife Refuge and the Mariana Arc National Wildlife Refuge, or the trench, or the volcanic units of the monument. So this is really, you know, other than going over the management plan and working through permitting other research throughout the deep ocean, here is my first real hands-on experience with the deep sea research and exploration. So I'm going to defer to our experts for species identification. If we see anything shallow on the way up, maybe I can chime in, but yeah, that's my route.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. Yeah, the Mariana Trench Marine National Monument is, you know, is a significant part of our expedition season here, and also on 172. So, you know, we're going to be within these waters and exploring the deep, and also thinking about how that connects to the communities and the place of the Northern Marianas and of Guam as well. So, really glad to have you with us, Sean. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about the monument? Talk a little bit about, you know, where we are right now within the monument, and then also thinking about what it covers and the different kinds of features that are included.
Yeah, before I get to that, I just wanted to say that, you know, the staff and the folks working on this vessel are just complete professionals. They're really good at what they do. I felt very welcome from everyone. So I feel like this is a good opportunity to capture a lot of cool information, nice video. You know, thanks Ed for hooking us up, and just exploring. You know, like just, you know, just being able to go down and look at stuff that hadn't been looked at in 20 years, or looking at somewhere very new. It's very, you know, you take that for granted when you're walking around, when you can do that yourself, right? But when it's in the deep, it takes a team, and the team here are absolutely professional. So let me start talking about the monument. Was designated in 2009 through proclamation, presidential proclamation, and it consists of the Mariana Trench National Wildlife Refuge, which is the seafloor in the trench. Consists of 21 submarine volcanoes, and that's the Mariana Arc of Fire National Wildlife Refuge. That's where we're going to be going to right now. Toto is one of those 21 that are designated as a monument. And that's also just 1 mile radius around the center. So it's also just the submerged lands, not the water column above. And then 50 miles around Farallon de Pajaros, Mog, and Asuncion. So those are the three northernmost islands in the Mariana chain. And it's 50 miles around those three islands, and that includes the seafloor, the waters above them. And so those are the three units of the monument. So when folks want to come do some work or do anything in the monument, they work with my office to get a special use permit, and you know, we work with them to make sure that the research going on is in line with our management plan goals, which almost always they are. So it's fun for us to work with teams like this to explore and to get us answers. You know, maybe leads to more questions, but ultimately, you know, just helps us tell the story of the deep. You know, because I couldn't do it by myself. You know, I work with Ranger back home, Jihan, and we do a lot of working with communities and trying to share the message and the stories of the deep, and we could never get them without partnerships like this. So that's the monument in a nutshell. If any questions come up, I'm happy to try and answer them as we move forward or move down.
That's right, great. It sounds like a great position for you, but I have to admit, as a Puget Sound resident, I'm sorry that we lost you.
Yeah, Puget Sound was awesome. I like working there. A lot of support, you know, working with the tribal communities was fun. You know, they're very passionate about their resource, and reminding me a lot of how our people are passionate about their resource as well. It was bittersweet. You know, I left a pretty fun job. I worked with a lot of the tribes, but at the same time, I got a chance to go back home and work with the Marianas tribe. You know.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that's So
as a native Puget Sounder and someone now living in Saipan, I can say there are certainly connections and shared community in those two places. So we're so glad to have you, Sean. It's such an awesome resource, and you're getting some shout outs in the chat too. Some half a days for Mr. McDuff, and also Ed, you as well. People they're speaking Husky pride to you. So
there we go. There's a lot of people that work in this field in the greater Pacific Northwest, if you include British Columbia as well. So, yeah.
For sure. We have people checking in from all over the world. Do a little update on, we see certainly some friends joining us from Australia. We're on a similar time zone as them, but also in the States and across United Kingdom, Guam, Canada, Northern Mariana Islands, Germany, Turkey, Sweden, Japan, Israel, Greece, and out in Spain as well. So awesome global audience joining us here for our first expedition. Again, this is Expedition 171. We are diving towards the Toto caldera, and we're about at 1,300 meters, and so target is around 3,200. And hoping that we're going to find lots of cool things down there, including some rock samples for our volcanologist friends and some awesome biological samples too. So please do send us messages in the chat if you're interested in learning more about any of the science or the crew on board. So we are here at your service. There was a comment in the chat too about the volcanoes and the proximity. They said they're pretty amazed by just how many volcanoes are in this region. I don't know if we have any background about just the diversity of geological makeup that you want to share about. Jacob or Verena, just thinking about too the way that the trench and the different plates interact to create such a unique volcanic system.
Yeah, you know, the Marianas is a pretty complex region tectonically, and I think, like, you know, what we see is that we have kind of two main regions that are volcanically active in the Marianas. So the trough, which is we're east of that now, and then we also have the Marianas Arc, which we're at its southernmost terminus or near it right now as well. And those are largely, in the distribution of volcanoes along those are kind of largely determined by where there's spreading going on, or a fast amount of spreading, or wherever there's, you know, melt being generated by the subducting plate in the mantle wedge kind of below the overriding lithosphere or crust. So, you know, that's kind of why we're seeing the distribution of volcanoes we're seeing along the arc.
Thanks, Jacob. This is our first dive of many, and you know, we're going to be on here for also well into our morning, and we have some other shifts that will be coming on to share with you about all the awesome things we see in the deep. So also want to just give a shout out to the whole team on board Nautilus, and whether they may be catching some sleep right now or following along with us in the lounge. We're pretty excited to be on this journey with them too. So.
I thought I'd just make a comment about the water column for our listeners here, many of whom follow Nautilus in many different areas of the ocean. You might notice that perhaps we're seeing fewer things as we're descending than in other places in perhaps the South Pacific or over near Galapagos or on the west coast of North America. Usually there's a lot more jellyfish and small fish in the water, but one of the key features of the Mariana region is that it's a very, very oligotrophic ocean. That means that it has very little productivity in the upper water column. That's really because there's the way the ocean currents are working in the regional context here is that there's not a lot of upwelling bringing nutrients up to the surface, so as a result there's very little plant growth in terms of phytoplankton at the top. So there's not much food that falls down to the bottom. And as a result, we tend not to see quite as much zooplankton or the jellies in the water. We did see that beautiful siphonophore early on, but not very much since, just a few small fish. And you will find that that's a bit of a hallmark of these ascents and descents. When we see something, we should take advantage of it and take a closer look. And in some places on the seafloor, you're just not finding perhaps the abundance of normal background fauna that we might see in other places. And again, that sort of reflects that low nutrient food input, so that the nutrients produced by the places like the cold seeps, which are on the sedimentary wedge over to the over to our east. So on the east side of the volcanic arc, so there we get cold seeps and the chemosynthetic communities there, and then the ones in the hydrothermal vents. These are major areas of nutrient input. And as we proceed through this expedition, there are a few places on the volcanic arc where we will be diving further north, and they come closer into the photosynthetic zone. And there we find that there's more animals that are kind of surrounding the hydrothermal vents from the deep sea, and there's a richer community going out from the vents that are benefiting both from the small amount of photosynthetic productivity and the chemosynthetic productivity.
Yeah, that's really helpful, Verena, to understand a little bit more about where that, that concentration is, so we can be prepared too. I know we're eager to see some sea critters up here, but we also know it's a long ways down to go. So we're patient, and we're lucky we can hang out with each other while we wait.
Kyle, I'll just say, tagging along what Verena mentioned about oligotrophic, clear, nutrient poor waters. That's sort of the standard that we grew up in. So we like the clear, sandy beaches. First time I was in California, I thought the water was green. It looked different. Puget Sound is green and rich, right? You have plankton in the water. You have algae in the water, right? You have productivity in the water, right? And all the life that comes with that. So I just thought it was something fun just to talk about how in the tropics, the waters are deserts, right? And with the I know this is a shallow water thing, but with corals that are able to take nutrients out of the water and provide it for the animals, that's one thing that makes it productive, is those unique coral reefs that kind of do that. But everywhere else it's gonna look like this, just clear blue, open water. So yeah.
My understanding too within the sort of seafaring community is there's different shades of color that you'll see in different waters, and that there you can almost kind of think about those conditions. I wonder if, Verena, you can provide some context too, like, is there anything to that in terms of color and maybe what Sean's talking a little bit about, where you have that high density or that high productivity in greener waters, and then maybe the bluer less so, or is that just light, something else?
Oh no, that's definitely a reflection of literally what's living there. So you have the microscopic plankton, the producers that are in the water, and so you're going to have light bouncing off those, and then that's going to get refracted and give you different color impressions. So yes, indeed, water that's got more microscopic phytoplankton in it is going to have a different color than water that has, nothing in it. And we have, why is the sky blue? Why is the ocean blue? The water's clear, and you get that perfect reflection of the blue end of the spectrum. And then it also changes in terms of incidence of sunlight and where you are in the latitudinal gradient. That will shift ocean color as well.
Yes, thank you for helping me to sort that. I think I did want to ask the question, why is the ocean blue? But I wanted to make sure I sounded a little more science-y, but that's very helpful. I will ask you over the next couple of weeks to explain it to me like I'm a first grader, and that's because I need to be able to explain it to first graders too. So thank you.
Sometimes, Kyle, the ocean is red, when you have like blooms of like dinoflagellates that turn the ocean red, and they're kind of, what do you call that, like associated with toxicity. So it's kind of gets the shellfish all unsafe to eat. So, those are kind of bad when that happens.
Okay.
So there's, depending on what's in the water, tiny phytoplankton or other microorganisms sort of do change the color of the ocean. And when there's nothing in it, it looks like that, what we're looking at right now. But once you get the other microscopic phytoplankton or other animals, it sort of does change the hint of the water. I was in Puerto Rico once, and in like mangrove areas, and there were leaves that had tannins, I think, and then so the water looked like iced tea, like clear brown iced tea. So the water was brown, you know, and that was just naturally just from the vegetation that was, you know, kind of seeping these chemicals into there. Well, it was completely natural, and it was just cool to see like iced tea colored water. Yeah, so that's 4 colors already. I don't know, folks can chime in with other colors the ocean can be, but yeah, it's interesting for sure.
Yeah, red I usually associate with maybe I don't want to be in the water, so that sounds like that proves true. Dan, are you on Science Party Line? No.
Hello.
Hey Dan. Dan, I was just looking at our video feed and I noticed we have, is that Hercules' arm is out there.
Correct.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about Hercules and what they've been up to over the off season?
I would love to, but not at the moment. We're doing some training up here with Mackenzie, so this is our first time operating it. So I want to give her my attention.
No problem. We'll check back in
I'll
with
get
you.
back with you, and I'll talk till you get bored of me talking.
All right. Thanks, Dan.
Sorry.
That's a really nice example of the level of commitment here to training the next generation of scientists, engineers, and technicians. You know, we have, many of our departments have interns aboard, and we spend a lot of time and energy not only selecting them, but building internship programs that provide, you know, just incredible opportunities to learn what we do out here and apply what they've learned in school to their relevant fields.
Kyle, real quick, I can't hear you through SPL unless it's just me. I don't think. Are you talking through it or?
But I'm not on SPL.
Okay.
One more time. Okay. If you're just joining us, we are on our first ROV dive of the EV Nautilus 2025 expedition season. We are excited to be diving here in the Mariana Islands. We are in the Mariana Trench Marine National Monument region, and we are diving with ROV Hercules and Atalanta to the Toto Caldera seamount, and we are currently just over 1,700 feet, diving down to about 3,000 meters, and we're excited to have you all join us on Nautilus Live. Please send in your questions, follow along as we explore the Mariana Islands and the trench and volcanic region on this expedition 171, and on our expedition 172 next month. I have a question from our friends on Nautilus Live. Would love to pose to the science team. They're wondering about the toxicity of the active volcanoes in this region, whether that's toxic to marine life or if there are any adaptations for the marine life to live in these environments. Does anyone want to talk a little bit about toxicity around active volcanoes and the marine life that adapts or does not adapt to that environment?
Okay, it depends whether the volcano is erupting or not. So these volcanoes, they're volcanoes because they have had a magmatic source create them, and that magmatic source can be completely cold now, and therefore you just get a lovely seamount and no emissions. You can have a magmatic source that's pretty dormant, but it's still being, there's still water circulating through the rocks, and water that can still be warmed by the warmer rocks from that residual heat from the magma chamber. And so you can have a volcano, and of which there are several on this arc, which are hydrothermally active, yet there's not a lot of magmatic emissions that are coming separately from the hydrothermalism. Then you can also have the volcanoes that are currently deemed active volcanoes, and for that we're talking Northwest Rhoda, which we'll be going to, Daikoko, which we'll be going to, Ahi, which we hope we'll be going to. It is currently classed as the only recently active, and by recent I just mean a couple of years, or even this year, volcano in United States. And so these are volcanoes that are giving off emissions separate from the hydrothermalism. And we have, working on the arc in past years, we have seen, we've seen animals, fish in the water that have been killed when they have swum across the top of the volcano. It's been a little bit of a mystery as to exactly what it is that's killing them. I just have to. There's a species of emitted sulfur. Sorry, I'm just trying to get it. It's not sulfuric acid. It's another form that it goes through that is highly toxic, and we're thinking that it might have something to do with an evolution and of the sulfur that's emitted from the volcanoes. So indeed, what we've been sitting there on the bottom doing some work, and then all of a sudden a dying mactophid fish hits the bottom in front of you, it's flopping around feebly, and then it gets jumped on by the shrimp from the hydrothermal vents because they see some carrion that they can feed on. And we've seen dying squid hitting the bottom. We've seen dying pelagic shrimp. So indeed, these are, there is toxicity that comes out. And so right now, and we can, ahi is a wonderful example. There are emissions coming out in the last couple of weeks that have left the a surface signature brown discolored water. What's in that brown, we don't know. And maybe on this cruise, we'll be able to even sample that with the CTD. So, yeah, it can be a little dangerous to live around around some of these volcanoes.
Yes, that's why we have the ROVs to help us to get down there and safely back up. Verena, you mentioned a little bit too about the samples that we're hoping to collect too. Jacob, do you want to share about any samples geologically, or a little bit about how those samples are processed once they're collected from these seafloor environments?
Yeah, so, the priority for samples is we're going to be looking for rocks that are unaltered, that are in places where it's not as mobile, so you're not on a talus slope, for example, and you just have a bunch of rocks laid out about like indiscriminately, or you have like rocks that, instead you would have rocks ideally that would be in places where it wouldn't be moving around too much, and so it wouldn't be changing location, so it's generally representative of the area it's coming from. And you don't have to worry about trying to maybe figure out, it's like, oh, this rock is actually from like a different, not a different seamount obviously, but maybe from a different feature than that seamount that's nearby. And then what we do with the rocks, kind of once we get them back to a lab, is that we can do actually a bunch of stuff with them. So you can look at kind of the rare earth element concentrations, but like you can look at them kind of normalized to different types of rocks, and then you can kind of figure out, because rare earth elements are sort of like they could be considered the DNA of the rock or whatever you're looking at. It can tell you a lot about the sort of processes that the magma underwent to be able to produce them. You can also look at, the crystallinity. You can polish them. You can make thin sections of them. You can, do major element analysis on them with like electron microprobes. There's like a whole suite of things you can do with your rocks once you get them back to the lab.
Okay, so Jacob,
yeah,
tell me how I tell the difference between an altered and an unaltered rock when I'm sitting here looking out the seafloor.
That is a great question, and something I have to figure out while we're doing this, but I think it's mainly going to be looking at rocks that, kind of have that glassy sheen to them a little bit, are going to be unaltered relatively. It might also just be like, if it has a ferromanganese crust on it, obviously it's probably not going to be a great sample to have. But it also doesn't mean that it's bad. But
so what's doing the altering?
Seawater, I imagine.
Or is it hydrothermal fluids?
I think it would.
Both?
Yeah, both.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So you want something nice and fresh.
Nice and fresh, ideally, yeah.
And are we going to be, I'm asking this for my, for my own, we're not looking at pure basalts that are coming out of these volcanoes. There's andesitic, or
yeah.
What kinds of rocks are we expecting to look at?
So, in the a few papers I read, they've kind of said that they found everything from basalts to even like rhyolite, which is pretty felsic, and like, we're kind of expecting to find, though, like you said, more andesitic rocks rather than basaltic, just because the crust here is thicker and there's like more time for the magma when it gets into the chamber to evolve and become more felsic, rather than kind of erupting immediately, which is where you see at like mid-ocean ridges, where it doesn't have as much time to evolve and become more felsic. Instead, it just erupts almost geologically right away onto the ocean floor and forms new crust. But here we do have that time that allows it to become more intermediate in composition. So
Okay, great.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we are approaching 2,000 meters on our descent down to Toto Caldera. And this is our first dive expedition of the 2025 season here on EV Nautilus. And again, my name is Kyle Mentor. I am your Science Communication Fellow. I would love to kind of maybe throw some of our team off here a little bit, put them on the spot. And I'm going to use a little bit of an icebreaker, even though we've already been talking for a couple hours. But if you were going to be any deep sea or not deep sea creature, mineral, or what have you, what would you be? And what does it tell us about you? All right, anybody feeling brave, want to jump in? Brianna, yeah, we'll go to you.
You need to define deep.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Sea.
you gotta find deep too. Like how deep?
I'll open it up. Any animal, any creature, doesn't have to even be a sea creature.
Yeah.
Any mineral, anything you think represents you and your personality.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, you would think I would say sea spider, but I mean, they're not like they're really cool to look at, but also if you see them in a jar, they kind of look just like spaghetti noodles. So I want to go with something a little bit, you know, I think a little bit different. Sea angels, I think they're really cool. You know, the reduced shell or that non-existent shell sometimes, and I think they just look really beautiful. And I feel like a lot of times they're used as symbols in different movies. So I think it also comes up in cinema a lot too. So I think people can relate to it a lot more. So I just like the idea that they're really cool, but also still be able to use in the public eye. Yeah.
So is that reflective of you? You're very cool.
Yeah, I would say I'm pretty cool.
All right.
And I think people like to look at me, I think, right?
Thanks for being brave and sharing with us. Sean, you look like you're over there deeply pondering.
Can you hear me?
Gotcha.
Yeah, like I think I'm at a disadvantage here because my expertise stops at 100 meters, the lit zone of the ocean. So I'm gonna say deep, maybe 300 feet or 200 feet, and just say, you know, and those are still, I guess, if we're looking at seamounts, the top of some of our seamounts, like Esmeralda, is close right off of Tinian. You know, it's a bottom fish spot. So maybe I'll pick one of those bottom fish that are caught and you know are prized and important part of our fishery, and folks kind of enjoy those sort of fish to eat and sustain themselves. So I'm gonna cheat a little bit and use my background to be okay with it. So yeah, I guess after this cruise, I think I'll have a better answer to what deep sea animal or mineral I could be. So yeah.
I like it. Staying local.
Yeah, I think I would cheat a little bit as well and opt for, although they can be found deep, the giant Pacific octopus. Being a Puget Sound diver, that's my favorite. They're just massive and beautiful and graceful, and it's just amazing how the females will guard their eggs and the brood and provide, you know, oxygen-rich water to them, and then at the time for them to hatch, that's the end of her life and her story, and they pick up and carry on. It's just a wonderful little a commitment to keeping the breed going. Yeah, love my GPOs. And say hi to Vada and my crew back home.
What's your animal, Kyle? If we can ask you.
You can ask me. I can answer. I've been pretty interested in the vampire squid of late. It's kind of on my bingo card for things I hope to see in the deep. I think there's just something about the dark kind of cloak and the way that it flows in the wind as a Seattleite, with the wind behind me and in layers is where I'm most comfortable. So I think the vampire shark is just, I've been connecting with lately. So doesn't have to be an animal either. If you want to do, you can do a rock. I'm okay with that.
I'll happily do an animal. And gotta say, I think, what are they? Mushroom corals, cup corals, the pink ones that kind of bloom, almost look like they're like blooming a little bit. Not as, fleshy as other or not as like kind of rigid as other corals, but I just remember being on Nautilus for the first time and seeing them and being like, whoa, like on a mound, just like a ton of them all over it, and it was just very pretty and just kind of a highlight of that cruise for me. So I'd happily be a mushroom coral. Oh.
Vereno, do you have one?
No, I don't. It's funny. As you asked the question, just so many things go through my head. It's a fantastic world down here, and it's almost impossible to choose. And I don't know. I kind of like when I am at the moment, being able to get down and to do this kind of thing, and then experience that amazing part of our world with the wonderful diversity. But it's impossible to pick.
Yeah, that is true. We are lucky to be able to have it from this perspective. So I'm with you there. So checking in on depth, we're just about at 2,200. So 2/3 of the way about down to our target depth for this dive to Toto Caldera. And this is ROV Nautilus, or sorry, the Nautilus, EV Nautilus's first ROV dive of the Expedition 2025 season. And we are here in the Mariana Islands, south of Guam, in the Mariana Trench Marine National Monument.
I can do a little bit of commentary on how the site was discovered, if you like.
Please, yeah, that'd be great.
So the arc has been studied a lot by several groups of people. There's a group out of JAMSTEC, which is a big oceanographic organization in Japan. And they've been looking at, Japan has the most incredibly diverse settings for volcanism all along their own coast. There's a whole volcanic system along Okinawa, and then the cold seeps along the Japan Islands, and then coming out from about the location of Tokyo, leading down towards the south east is the Izu-Bonin arc, volcanic arc, and that joins the Mariana volcanic arc to make one very, very long set of volcanoes, often referred to as the IBM, Izu-Bonin Mariana volcanic arc. So the Japanese have been working in this area for decades and decades because it is partly their ocean, and then that extension geologically has drawn the geologists further and further south. So they came out to Toto caldera in 1999, and they were surveying for hydrothermal vents in the area, and they did this first from a ship that put down sensors in the water column. They were looking for water column anomalies, perhaps temperature, perhaps oxidation reduction, looking for signals such as enhanced particulates or enhanced levels of aluminum was one of the things that they picked up in this area. So they knew that there was something in Toto caldera because they could see emissions coming into the water column, but they didn't know particularly where. They came back again in, let's see, that would have been the year 2000 with a cruise early in the year, and they had a camera sled, so they're lowering a camera from the ship and towing it along, and they had the first visual contact of hydrothermal vents from the sled. So they went back, retooled. They came out with the ROV called Kaiko, and they were able to do one dive in that area to confirm that vents were there, and take a few samples. So they knew where they were there. They had other things to do on that mission, so it was just the one dive. But what they had found on that dive was how very, very acidic this water was, and that was, at the time, very unusual and quite different from the known vent, the few known vent sites in the Mariana back arc, such as Alice Springs. So they came back out again in 2003, and this was an expedition that was focused on the water. What were the geochemical characteristics and what were the microbial characteristics of that water. And they were able, this time they came with the Shinkai 6500, which is a manned submersible. Takes 3 people down to 6,500 meters max. And they did, I think, about 5 dives, doing water samples, exploring, and extending that footprint of where the hydrothermal vents were, taking a lot of water samples, and being able to describe then better the water chemistry, and also the presence of a lot of a very rich and diverse archaeal and bacterial communities that were in the vent fluids. So that was the last time, and we'll just find out shortly whether those vents are still there or whether everything's cooled off.
Yeah, it's a really unique opportunity to return to these sites, to really see that change and get to sample some of the geological changes, and then also think about that marine biological change. So, you know, we're really excited to be in this region. This is EV Nautilus's first time in the Western Pacific, first time in the Mariana Islands, and we're grateful to be guests in this water. Very grateful for the partners in the CNMI and in Guam for assisting us with making this dive culturally relevant, making it available to scientists around the world. And so, you know, we're just, we're pushing into our first expedition and our first ROV here, our first dive, and target depth is about 3,200 meters, and we're right around 24 right now. So thanks for coming along. Please do add any questions you have for us in the chat, and we'll hope to be able to answer those with this amazing team we have here. Dan, are you on SPL?
Huh? Are you talking to me? Can I hear you? I can hear you.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah, sorry, I was, we've been ignoring Mackenzie for the last day while we've been scrambling, so I was trying to get her up to speed, because the faster she's an expert, the more lazy I can be.
No problem. Do you want to share a little bit about of some of the training that you're doing and what you're thinking about for the ROVs on this dive?
Sure, yeah, so, are you ready to jump on too, Mackenzie? We're going to make you famous now. This basically, so far all the training we've been able to do is kind of on deck, and that's pretty limited to figuring out how to turn things on and off. And there's a lot of buttons and switches up here, so I remember my first time when I came in here, it was so overwhelming. There's so many buttons and so many monitors, and I'm just like, how do you people function? So Mackenzie's been getting familiar with that, same as Annabelle and Ben. It was his first launch today. And now we're just kind of doing the same thing, but operationally. So some of the things we couldn't do on deck, what Mackenzie's doing now is controlling the thrusters on the ROV. She briefly ran the manipulator, our brand new manipulator. I haven't even run the thing yet. What the heck?
Hey, Dana, while you're describing this, I'm going to put on set 3 what's on the wall you guys are staring at right now. It's a giant wall, so people have an idea of the density of information you have in front of you. Go ahead.
Yeah, lots of information to take, and that's kind of. I apologize for ignoring you all back there in the back row. It's just for me also. This is the very first dive to this depth, so in addition to becoming familiar with the system for Mackenzie, I'm also like a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs. I'm looking at all of these monitors. We're monitoring the health of the ROV system, the levels of composition oil that are in it, the temperatures, humidities, the distance between the two ROVs, the speed they're going down, the hundreds of horsepower that we're using to turn the winch, the weight on the wire. This, you see my head up here moving around. So for me to do that and be able to give Mackenzie my attention is it takes kind of the full bandwidth of my reptile brain there. And I'm always worried I'm going to miss something. Something bad's going to happen. We're going to have to recover the ROVs, and then I have to work on them.
Doing amazing so far. Learning a lot.
Yeah, you're. So we have kind of parameters that we're trying to achieve on the way down. We're trying to maintain 30 meters a minute, so we get to the seabed, which everyone wants to see. That's the exciting part. And we're trying to keep the separation between the two ROVs so they don't get tangled up on the way down. And that's kind of a balance with controlling the speed of the winch and the thrusters on the ROV. Moving 6,000 pounds of ROV with 20 horsepower versus a 150 horsepower winch. And then we also have, how many horsepower is Nautilus?
Hope you're not looking at me.
And it starts with a 4. No, maybe that's the weight. But we're also monitoring, and Anna and Lynette are monitoring what the vessel is doing. In this case, hopefully it's just holding position. But, and then, you know, keeping an eye on the weather and the waves. And, it can get quite distracting up here. So I'm feeling a little bit better now. We're getting pretty close to the seabed. Another 15 minutes to go, 500 meters, whichever comes first. So far, so good.
So, Mackenzie, this is Ed over at video. I'm a little curious, how long did you think it would take you before you got to sit in the chair and fly Herc?
Oh, I definitely wasn't expecting this on the first dive, my first dive ever.
That's a special treat, huh?
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, Ben stood up and Dan was like, you wanna turn on Herc? I was like, sure.
Great way to learn, great teacher.
Mackenzie's waited a long time for this. She was on the boat once before, and then we kicked her off. Well, it was pretty mean of us to...
Yeah, glad it's all worked out.
Yeah, glad you made it back. So at some point soon, that thing that says, that big red thing there that says Doppler 0 beams. When we get within about 100 meters of the seabed, it'll start picking up the beams. Okay. And it'll go yellow when we get, I think, 2 or 3 beams, and then at some point we'll get 4 beams. And in general, I'll go all manual here on the winch when we're a couple 100 meters up.
Gotcha.
It's really embarrassing to plow into the seabed at 30 meters a minute. At the very least, it makes a giant, ooh, look, some smoke.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
That's pretty significant smoke.
Yeah. Wow, that's a lot of smoke. You see how much that brightened me up?
Wow.
That's going to make some scientists happy.
Yeah. Is that all rising sediment, or is that...
This is a great thing to see. The blinding white smoke in the water.
No longer inactive, it's still there.
Okay, so we are 350 meters above the bottom, and we've gone through a plume, which can only mean there's something coming out from the bottom, which is the good part. The bad part is that it might mean visibility could be a little limited when we get to the bottom. The white is probably sulfur particulates. And I will note that the Japanese divers did comment that visibility was sometimes a problem down here.
Well, we'll go manual now. Mackenzie, that not that I don't trust Lynette's multi-beam, but I don't trust Lynette's multi-beam.
That's harsh.
Totally. But maybe she was multi-beaming smoke and she didn't know it.
I do that.
What's that? Oh, wasn't yours? We got 3 beams now.
Goodness. Okay, I'm gonna be.
What was your advertised depth? Was 3090 or 29? Yeah. I started seeing, so the smoke was